Hello there, my name is Anthony Barocas from StreamTech, and today I want to work with you and tell you how you can get your BirdDog camera upgraded to the new Silicon 2. If you've been using NDI, then you are definitely aware of the company BirdDog. They have been one of the biggest supporters of the NDI format, making hardware-based NDI cameras that deliver full NDI across the network for many years. Now, with their Silicon 2 update, they are going beyond full NDI and delivering HX2, HX3, and a bunch of other capabilities, including their cloud capability. They've got a page on their website specifically talking about how this full NDI camera is now going to be able to offer NDI HX2, HX3, SRT, RTMP, RTSP, and especially that cloud capability through BirdDog Cloud, so that this device will be able to be received somewhere else in the world without you going through a bunch of infrastructure setup. You can see right here, I've highlighted it because on their website, they use this dark gray font, which I'm not particularly fond of, but right here, you can see the HD cameras are going to get HX2 encode, they're going to get HX3 encode, SRT encode, H.264 encode, RTMP encode, RTSP encode, and Cloud Connect. There's certain decode, obviously the cameras are not going to be getting the decode. Cloud Connect, and the maximum resolution for all of this is going to be 1080p. This is offering unparalleled updates to hardware that you've already purchased at no additional cost. And it's super easy to get. You just come over here to the support, you're going to go to your downloads page, and then you're going to pick the camera or device that you want. You can see right here, we have the P100, and there it is, the Silicon 2. There's a user guide, release notes, and the firmware update. We're going to download that. I always find it very helpful to make sure that I'm doing it the right way. There's usually a process to these things, and especially in terms of BirdDog, they have a USB right here for upgrades. In addition to just doing a software upgrade, there's a USB stick that you need to use to do the baseband firmware updates as well. So it's always important to, in this case, read the instructions. Right here, you can see it is a 3-step process where you have to do the NDI firmware, the MCU, and the baseboard. So you'll need the firmware zip file, the P100 camera, obviously, and a USA to USB cable, and a PC laptop with the spare USB-A running Windows 10 or 11. Well, I have all those, and let's get started. You saw that it mentioned a printer cable. What they're really talking about is a cable that has USB-A that goes into your computer, and then this taller piece that goes into, let's see if I can get the camera to focus on it. Look at this instead of me. There you go. Has this taller piece that will go into the camera. You can see right there, it goes into the camera right there. It's blue, which means USB 3, even though it says USB 2 on the bottom. Next up, you're going to want to check to make sure which version of your camera you have. There's a QR code on the bottom, MSVOA. You see there in the middle of that, it says AA014 ampersand. The AA is what I'm looking for. It should say AA or AD. You can see right here is mine, and mine says AA. So I'm just double checking it. And then right there, if you have the AA version, use the firmware on the AA folder. If you have the AD version, use the AD folder. So you need to be sure you're using the correct firmware for the model you have. Now, there are a couple different ways to be able to access your BirdDog over the network. I have mine set to DHCP. I know many prefer manual IP, so they don't even need a router. They're just available over the switch and always at the same address. I use DHCP. I can use an app called Fing, F-I-N-G, on Android. And here you can see there's my Blackmagic Design mixer. There's my cam 3 right there. I'm going to guess that's it. Just click into there. And it says my address is 192, 168, 86, 244. And then right here on my laptop, it says, there's my eyes, P100, enter the password. So here you can see this is my P100. I've logged into it over the network, and now I'm able to see the administration page of my camera using a web browser. Additionally, if you don't have a tool like that, but you do have NDI tools, you can use Studio Monitor. So right here I have Studio Monitor, and what I can do is I come up here, I connect to my BirdDog camera. I think it's cam 3. We're going to say connect. There it is. Here's my little camera. And then down here is the little gear icon. You click on the gear icon, and let's connect it in Edge. Okay. And then it will bring me directly to the page. Now, since I've already logged in the other way, it's already just opening the page and not giving me the login. Either way you want to log in, that's how you can do it. And like I said, if you have a static IP, you could just type the IP into a web browser on the same local area network, and you will gain access to your BirdDog camera. A key thing to remember is when you downloaded the file, it's a zipped file. You need to unzip it, you need to uncompress it so that you're able to access the individual files. So right here, we're going to take this and we're going to say extract all, put it in the same location. I don't want to see them. Say extract. And now it's going to decompress all of these different attached files. They're put into one file so that they're more reliably sent as opposed to different attachments. But you need to extract them all so that you have access to the individual pieces for doing your upgrade. There we go. And now you can see I have both the zipped file, you can see the little zipper there, and the unzipped file. So I double click on this, you can see I've got the Mac side, the Windows side. In here I've got the AA. Going to the AA, I've got step 1, step 2, and step 3. That's what it's referring to in the instructions. So going back to those instructions, log into the Berg UI, navigate to the System menu and select System Update, choose the File button. Choose your file, go to the Step 1 folder for your camera version, select the file contained and click the Update button. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to go to the System Update, choose File. Here, we're going to go Browse. And again, this is from the controller. Step 1, there it is, firmware. We're going to say Open. And you can see it now has that firmware update right there. We're going to say Update. It doesn't look like anything is happening, but up here in the little icon for the browser, it says it is busy. On the web browser page, you will actually get an update as to what's going on with the update service from the computer. At the bottom there, it says, congratulations, your firmware is updated and your device is rebooting. After the reboot, you can refresh this browser and log back in, because there's still 2 more steps. If you haven't seen the Silicon 2, when you reboot, your web page for the camera is going to be completely different. This is the new browser page for the BirdDog camera. You can see that it gives you like CPU usage, network bandwidth, a lot of really good metrics that can help you in terms of assessing multiple cameras across a network. So we are going to go back to our instructions. Step 1. After the process, please allow 2 minutes for the camera to reboot and refresh. Confirm the update by checking the system details firmware version. So let us do that. Let us double check that. System details. It says my MCU version is 36 and my firmware is 5.5114 right there. Now we have to do an MCU update. If your flash drive is not formatted as FAT32, format it using the Windows PC using the following instructions. So what they're talking about is you're going to need a USB stick. I happen to have an old, very basic 1 GB stick just for this purpose. I'm going to plug that in, going to hide this, yellow, and then I'm going to come over here to format just to make sure that it's set up the right way. FAT32, okay. It's already set up to FAT32. I don't have to reformat, so I'm just going to close. And then I'm going to go back to my instructions. Copy the file from step 2 for your camera version to the top level of the flash drive. Right-click and eject the flash drive from my computer. Remove the flash drive from your PC and insert it into the camera USB port. Remove all the power from the camera. Once the camera, wait for 10 seconds and then return power to the camera. Once the camera's finished booting up, it will pan fully left and right and go back to center. Log into the camera and make sure that the MCU has been updated to 57, because we know what we did was we looked at the MCU and the MCU is 36. So we're going from 36 to 57, which is a big jump. So let us do that. We're going to, that's my yellow USB stick. We are going to go to my downloads. Here, P100, I have an AA camera. Step 2, there it is, my bin. I'm going to take that, I'm going to drag that onto the top level of my yellow USB stick. It's done. Eject. There we go. Then I'm going to put this into the USB port. That's actually, then I'm going to put this into the USB port on my camera, and I'm going to power down the camera. Now it says to do this for a good 10 seconds. We're going to power this back up. And you can see with the light in there, it actually did sense the fact that it was there. And you can see that it is initializing. Then remember, it says once it has finished boot up, it will pan fully left and back to center, power down, and then reconnect your cables as usual. So we are going to power it down again by unplugging it. I'm going to take the USB stick out because it has programming to immediately load whatever's there. So I'm going to take that out. I'm going to let it sit for a few more seconds. And then in the NDI port, I'm going to plug this back in. And then it's going to go through the boot up process again. There we go. Now, per the instructions, it says to log in to the camera again. We're just going to hit refresh. And now it says my MCU version is 57. CPU usage is down and everything. So I still have the 514 down here on the right, and my MCU version now properly registers as 57. So I can take that USB stick out. But wait, we're not done yet. There's still a third step. Let's go back to those instructions. You see where it says 57. Boom, boom, boom. Proceed to the next step. Your baseboard update. Connect your Windows PC to the P100 USB port using the A to B cable. Again, that's the A to B cable, B being this taller side. So we are going to plug that into the laptop, and then we are going to come over here and we are going to plug that into that tall port over there. There we go. Double click the application, load firmware USB mass storage 211 EXE. So let's go back to our desktop. Okay, I'll read the rest of this. If you encounter an error, install Visual C++ support. We'll hope that we don't have to have that problem. Once the application is loaded, select the UVC cam from the device list, meaning my camera that's connected. Click the firmware button, browse to the step 3 folder. Click the update button. When the process is finished, click the OK button. You can verify that the update has been successful by comparing the displayed number version with the last 3 numbers of the bin file. Okay, so what we're looking for is 174. So let's close this. Let's go up. Step 3. There it is. I'm going to load this and see if I need to have the C++ libraries installed. I don't, because it launched. So can I make this window bigger? I can, but it doesn't make the text any bigger. We're going to click on firmware. We're going to go back into that folder. AA, step 3. That's what we're looking for, 117. We're going to click open. And then we're going to say update. Error. Change UVC to UMS. And this is just a case of me not paying attention to all the different pieces. You have to select the camera first. Remember up here, NDI webcam, UVC camera. That was in the instructions. But sometimes you just think it's going to work. There it is. Version 008 is going to go up to 117. So then we say update. There it goes. Oh, there it goes. I don't know what that other window opened for, but here it is in the background, updating as it should. What the Silicon 2 update can offer BirdDog cameras is, while you could use full NDI and move a bunch of cameras across a network, you then, after a few cameras, you really need to start counting your bits, because if you're moving 5 cameras at full NDI, you're going to be talking over 600 megabits, and that's going to saturate a gigabit network card, because your traffic is not the only traffic on there. If you're able to use HX2 or HX3, you're able to use a much lower bit rate when chosen, and you're able to manage your bits across the network with much more detail, enabling you to have more cameras doing more things, feeding more destinations, and not saturate your gigabit network. You don't have to buy a whole new infrastructure. This basically renews your whole network to be able to do more without changing anything. I just want to point out, remember, in the instructions it says, may take 5 minutes, please be patient. So we're just going to let it run. There it goes. You can see now my NDI feed went to blue because it was rebooting, and I got the OK. And what's the first thing we're going to go do? We're going to go check it. But how are we going to go check it? Remember, there's a tool to assess this. So I'm going to launch the tool again. I'm going to pick the correct camera. And it says my version is 174. So the update was successful. I have the latest update for the firmware. We're going to close that, and then we're going to come into our web page. So here you can see what I'm talking about is that the standard bit rate for NDI from my BirdDog cameras is 140 megabits. You multiply this times 5, you are getting pretty close to saturating a gigabit network with just 5 cameras. Silicon 2 offers a lot of new capabilities. The one I'm most particularly interested in is being able to lower my bit rate across the local area network while still maintaining the image quality that BirdDog is known for. while I could stay at 140 megabits a second with full NDI, leveraging HX2 is going to let me really drop that down, but still maintain the image quality. So right here in our basic settings, encode settings, I can go manual and I can vary that from like 80 megabits all the way up to 180 megabits at full HD. At full NDI. But we're going to go into the advanced tab. We're going to come over here and we're going to select NDI HX. There's an extra trick up the BirdDog sleeve because it's still outputting full NDI in addition to the HX. So finding where you adjust these settings can get a little tricky. Now, where you think HX may take over and be the only encode, it's still doing the full NDI at this data rate. So if you want to adjust the NDI HX, I have it set to variable. I find you have to come into constant, and then down here is where you can choose your data rate. This is where you get to choose from 4 different settings: low, medium, high, and ultra. Let's go down to low. Low gives you, wait for it, every 60 frames it's going to refresh at 3 megabits a second. And that is a very low data rate. Stepping up our game, we can go to medium, which will become 60 frames a second, but 8 megabits a second. Next up is high, which changes the keyframe rate to 30 frames. Every 30 frames you get a keyframe, and increases the data rate to 18. And then the next one up is ultra, which changes your keyframe rate to every frame and at 50 megabits a second. So this one's going to be very robust. For comparison, let us do like a medium. Whoops, I selected the wrong one there. Let's go to medium. And we're going to restart the video here. There we go. And now again, this is medium. So when I move my hand across it, I would say that would not be acceptable. Not for me. 8 megabits a second? No. Let's try high. This one is high. You can see it fixes itself faster. This is because the keyframe is 30 frames, where it pushes itself clean. Another thing we can do is we can come down here and choose a custom. So our group of frames we can say is group of GOP size of 1, and then we can increase the data rate up to let's go up to 70. Set to be 5. Group of pictures to be 5. And then we're going to hit a restart. Up here it'll say initializing, and then it'll say streaming. So then we can cut back to the picture. That made a big difference. Other than the focus constantly hunting, which we could turn the autofocus off, but I'm not seeing any problems there. Let's take this back down to $60. Restart it. Going to look for this to say initializing. And then streaming. Okay. Let's switch inputs. That is looking really good. All right, let's take this down to 50. Restart it. Up here, it'll say initialization. And then it's streaming. Then we'll switch inputs again. Yep, it's still looking really good to me. And you can see right now I am at 50 megabits, which is half of what full HD would be using full NDI. We can, and you can keep tweaking this down. Let's go down to 40 megabits. We're going to hit restart. Initialization. Now it's streaming, so we're going to change our inputs. I think I'm starting to see a little bit of funkiness in there, maybe. Or is that just the focus? That might just be the focus hunting. But even if I step it back up to 50 megabits is half, less than half of the full HD normal bit rate coming from this very same camera. So upgrading to Silicon 2 gives me the ability to double the number of cameras I have on my local area network, because now it's doing 50 megabits. And if I had 3 cameras, instead of doing 450 megabits, I would be doing 150. And that's going to deliver much better bandwidth, lower bandwidth constraints, less competition on the network, and that's going to be better because the camera is not going to be the only thing I'm doing on NDI. I'm going to be sending the feedback to the stage and other things like that. So by managing my bits, by leveraging Silicon 2 on the BirdDog cameras, I can have a more reliable, a more robust production on that same gigabit network. And remember, the BirdDog cameras are still encoding full NDI, and it is still available if you need to use it. Right here you can see it's at 130 megabits a second, but that does not count against your bit rate or your bit budget unless you actually do access it. It's being encoded in the camera at 130 bits, but unless something actually starts pulling it across the network, it doesn't count. It's not on the network. It's not being broadcast and using up bits unless something uses it. I'm using, over here, I have this 40 megabit HX stream that I am accessing across the network, and that's what's going to count towards my bit budget. This has been my video on how to upgrade your BirdDog cameras to the new Silicon 2 software. As always, I'm trying to build my channel, so if you find this video useful, please subscribe. And if you think other people might find this video useful, share it to your social media, because it helps me help other people too. And with that, thanks for watching.